Hello my YouTube friends. This is my second video I'm uploading today about MSTR stocks, so you know something big has happened, right? And so let's discuss it. Before I get into it, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you like MSTR, if you like Metaplane, if you like Tesla, Nvidia, AI, crypto, robotics, any sort of those kind of stocks or assets or cryptos. Definitely make sure to subscribe. Like the video if you don't mind, as well as let me know what your Bitcoin price targets are below. Okay. Micro strategy, right? So here's a couple big pieces of news. I've got two. Okay, let's say the first one is going to be their new European preferred stock offering. This one is called STRE or Stream is what the STRE is short for. STRE, and basically this is to take advantage of the European market, right? To try to take some money out of the European bond market. And this specific preferred stock gives a 10% annual yield paid out to you quarterly, right? And this has been in the works for a while now, but as of today, because we've seen quite a dip in Bitcoin price, Michael Saylor and the team have decided to upsize this offering. Basically, I think more than double the size, right? So in USD, in US dollars, it turns out to like around $720 million worth of offering on this preferred stock, which is huge, right? And if you were to convert that into Bitcoin today, if you got Bitcoin at like 100,000 per Bitcoin, you're getting around like 7,500, Bitcoin to put on the balance sheet, give or take, I don't know, 500 or so, right? So plus or minus 500, which is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, compared to like their overall holdings right now, which is like 641,000, 7,500 might not seem like a big deal, but every tranche, has its own impact, right? So I think it is a big deal, right? Because now it's their first offering into the European market, specifically. I believe it's trading on the Luxembourg Stock Exchange, right? Which, as we know, Luxembourg is one of the most, per capita, one of the most richest countries in the entire world, right? We've seen similar things with the Metaplanet leadership team, where they've just been flying all over the world the past week or two because the Bitcoin price has fallen, and they're just getting investors from all over the world, right? So this is a big deal. Just the fact that they can even upsize these offerings in general is a big deal, right? But the fact that they did, it's so timely, and what I'm getting at is I think that we're going to see a gigantic purchase of Bitcoin. By gigantic, I mean 7,500 Bitcoin plus or minus 500, imminently, probably within a week or two. I can't tell you exactly when, but it'll be pretty soon, where MicroStrategy will be essentially up to 650,000 Bitcoin on the balance sheet, which is huge, right? As we know, once MicroStrategy gets to 1 million Bitcoin, which is definitely their goal, I could see them surpassing 1 million Bitcoin one day. That would mean that 1 out of every 21 Bitcoins that ever existed will be in MicroStrategy's treasury, right? So it's important to note, so 650,000 is nothing to sneeze at. Okay, and this other little tidbit of news might be, let's be honest, it's probably bigger news than the first one. Okay, so I talked to you guys about in my earlier video today that JPMorgan came out with this price target of $170,000 to $200,000 for a Bitcoin within 6 to 12 months, right? So not very long. Basically, their 1 year target, their 6 month to 1 year target is 70 to 100% higher than it is today. So if you want to outperform, the overall market, the S&P 500, you want to get more than 10%. They're basically saying, you buy some Bitcoin at these prices right now, you're going to get 70 to 100% ROI within 6 months to a year. So that's like absolutely demolishing the market. And that is not me coming out and saying that. That is JPMorgan. That is Jamie Dimon, the forever bear on Bitcoin, saying that Bitcoin's going to zero, Bitcoin's not worth anything. Well, it looks like Jamie Dimon has completely switched his stance. So not only have they came out with this gigantic price target for Bitcoin within the next 6 to 12 months, but they also have increased their exposure to IBIT, which is the BlackRock ETF, the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, by 64%, right? So I believe they own around $350 million worth of IBIT now. So they're big buyers at these levels of Bitcoin. So it's not just me, it's not just the crazy bulls of Bitcoin or MicroStrategy, it's the institutions are buying. Like, that is what's happening. So, just understand that. Like, that's happening. Like, that's a fact. There's no opinion, there's no opinions in this. It's just a fact, right? So, you know, and with JPMorgan, Citibank, kind of like what I was talking about in the video earlier, it's like these institutions, why would they come out and not only talk about these price targets, but also put their money where their mouth is, unless they knew something, right? They knew something was going to happen, right? They know to be bullish for a certain reason. And you know, all these people at the top of these institutions, they get all sort of like insider trading ideas. And I know there's not, you know, really a way to insider trade Bitcoin because it's not a company, but they can, you know, they know people on Wall Street, they know people in Congress, they know people in the president's cabinet, you know, they know more than people like you and I that kind of just speculate on Bitcoin, look at the historical returns, look at the potential returns for the future, right? They see a lot more than we see. There's a lot of stuff in the background we don't see when it comes to stocks and crypto that these gigantic institutions get in on way before us, and so they take advantage of it, and their ROI, that's how they beat the market, right? That's really what I'm getting at. That's how the people that run these gigantic institutions like Bank of America, Citibank, JPMorgan, Chase, you know, all these places, that's how they stay in business. That's how they keep their executive roles at these companies, is by understanding the market on a whole nother level than retail investors like us, right? But what we can do is we can see, okay, JPMorgan Chase is one of the largest institutions in the entire world. Like, bar none, it is like a top 5 institution in the world as far as like assets under management and just like the amount of loans they give out, just, and even by market cap, they're worth hundreds of billions of dollars. And they're telling you today that they think that Bitcoin is going to 170 to 200,000 within 6 months, possibly to a year. And they're putting their money where their mouth is. And Michael Saylor understands this, which is why he's trying to issue as many preferred stocks as he possibly can. Because once Bitcoin gets to 170, 200,000, and he took all this debt / dividend payments, and got all of this capital beforehand, before the run up, and then we see and bought Bitcoin, and then it runs up. Well, then all these people that are calling Michael Saylor a con man and MicroStrategy, you know, like fake money, these are all gonna be put to bed, right? So it's like, this is just another reason why I say any Bitcoin news is MSTR news. So like, you know, and there's another saying that people say, and that's that any press is good press, right? So even the people that call MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor like con men and like a fake company built on fake capital or whatever, it's like, okay, if that's true, okay, yes, it'd be very bad for MicroStrategy stock, right? But if it's not, right, and Bitcoin does continue to increase over time to just astronomical levels, which I think most people believe at this point, right? If that happens, then like all that bad press turns into good press, because now everyone has heard of the name MicroStrategy, heard of the name Michael Saylor. They all kind of understand, like now Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy are household names, is what I'm saying, right? And it's kind of similar to like Elon Musk and Tesla, right? So it's like Elon Musk and Tesla, they don't have to advertise very much for their cars, but they sell millions of cars a year, or like, it's about 1 million cars a year, maybe a little more. Yeah, I think it's a little more. But anyway, what I'm saying is like, there's so much bad press on Tesla, but yet company hasn't went bankrupt, right? In fact, their amount of cars sold per quarter goes up. It's the exact same deal with MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy, in my personal humble opinion, is very similar to like the Tesla of Bitcoin, right? Where it's a super controversial company. The CEO is in headlines all over. You get on X and MicroStrategy is trending 3 out of the 7 days. If you go to the trending page, you'll see something about MicroStrategy, right? Which is huge, because you need momentum, you need attention in order to keep your MNAV up. Once the MNAV goes down, right, then you really can't dilute anymore, and all you can really do is do these preferred stocks, which is more lucrative to shareholders anyway. So I'm not opposed to just, you know, raising capital via preferred stocks, but it's like, you want to keep that MNAV up, right? If the higher the MNAV is, really the more trust you have in your shareholders, because that's the premium, right? That's like basically the investors can see, I own a company that a lot of people are willing to pay a premium to own, right? And why would you be willing to pay a premium to own a certain company? Because you believe in their future, you believe in the management team, you believe in the company, right? So yeah, it's like to align yourself with Bitcoin and to be the first mover, right? Everyone knows about Bitcoin. there's tons of Bitcoin treasury companies, I put it in quotes because, you know, they don't have very much Bitcoin, right? But they've started out. We don't know who they are, what they do, anything about them. We don't even know their name. But everyone knows about MicroStrategy. Everyone knows about Michael Saylor, right? Because he's taken the path less traveled and he pioneered this industry, and he continues to innovate, right? And just issue preferred stock after preferred stock, you know, because he knows that Bitcoin's going to be more expensive in the future. Just like I, as a humble guy on YouTube that's not your financial advisor, I also believe that Bitcoin is going to $1 million by 2030 and even further past that, right? Because I believe that Bitcoin is the hardest asset ever created. It cannot be debased, cannot be printed, right? It's something the world needs. The world needs a world reserve currency, right? We need something like this. So, and there's nothing coming out that's going to usurp Bitcoin in that space, right? Bitcoin's solidified. It's been around for almost 2 decades. So, and it's taken Jamie Dimon a long time. Let's be honest. It's taken JPMorgan and Jamie Dimon a long time to see, you know, the worth of Bitcoin, and how eventually just about everyone you know is probably going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% allocation in their portfolio to Bitcoin. And when they do that, MicroStrategy has an MNAV, right? So with every dollar that Bitcoin goes up, you're going to make $1.30, $1.20, $1.40, $1.50 in market cap on MicroStrategy, right? So that means your MSTR is going to go up and up and up and up and up, as long as Bitcoin goes up and up and up and up. And in the meantime, he's going to keep buying Bitcoin with other people's money. And here's the deal, is that not all these other Bitcoin treasury companies can do that because they don't have the attention. They don't have the popularity. They don't have the press, right? That's why, personally, I always invest in the largest name in an industry, right? I can't remember the investor that talks about you should always own the number 1, possibly the number 2, but that's why I own Tesla. That's why I own MicroStrategy. That's why I own NVIDIA, right? I own the leader of the industries because they hold such an advantage to everyone else, right? Look at the profit margins that NVIDIA makes on their chips compared to AMD. They do almost the same exact thing. NVIDIA's chips are much more powerful, you know, they've got better AI helping to design and develop the chips. But at the end of the day, the profit margins for NVIDIA are like twice that of AMD. Look at the profit margins Tesla makes on their electric cars compared to the entire rest of the electric industry, right? There's no comparison. Like, the rest of the industry is actually losing money on their EVs, and they're like, Ford is like considering not making any more F-150 Lightnings, right? That's a simple fact of what we're living through in 2025, okay? It's the same way with MicroStrategy, right? So I do believe in MetaPlanet, you know, honestly half because MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor promotes MetaPlanet, right? He's in cahoots, we'll say that he's boys with the people that run MetaPlanet, and he's told them exactly what to do. Because he cannot, you know, he can't get the same advantages in Japan that MetaPlanet can. So that's why I'm also an investor in MetaPlanet, because they're aligned together. Yeah. And if Michael Saylor hadn't came out and said, hey, I like MetaPlanet, and I think MetaPlanet is going to be one of the biggest companies ever, I would question MetaPlanet way more than I do, right? But because they're boys, I like MetaPlanet stock as well. And I think it'll probably go up more than MicroStrategy will, because it's seen as a more risky stock. The MNAV right now is lower than MicroStrategy, but at the end of the day, MicroStrategy is the pioneer, and MicroStrategy is the absolute dominant, without a doubt, a leader in this industry of Bitcoin treasury companies, right? So, like I said, you've got Jamie Dimon inadvertently essentially buying MicroStrategy, right? Because he's buying Bitcoin. And everything Bitcoin related is MSTR related, and Michael Saylor is just an absolute genius for setting that up. For like making any Bitcoin news, now MicroStrategy news, is like mind-bogglingly amazing, right? So, like I said, guys, MicroStrategy may be only 320s, 330s. I don't know what it's going to be tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, right? I don't know for sure. But I can tell you that my prediction for 5 years out, for 2030, is much higher than it is this, like, now, right? And I do think that MicroStrategy is going to go like $600 or $700 within the next year. I could be wrong, you know? And if I'm wrong, so be it. I'll keep buying at these lower prices, right? Because I don't think Bitcoin's going to stay 100K for very long. Not with what JPMorgan's doing, not with what Citibank's saying, not with what all the governments, institutions, companies, high net worth individuals, everything. Everything is telling me Bitcoin's going to the moon. So With that being said, it's hard not to think that MicroStrategy is also going to the moon, probably in a leveraged way compared to Bitcoin, right? So, all right, guys, thanks for hearing me out. Thanks for hearing my soapbox. And yeah, like I said, if you made it this far, 15 minutes in, you definitely got to subscribe to the channel. We love MSTR stock on this channel. We love Bitcoin, Tesla, NVIDIA, AI, robotics, name it. You can name it, right? We love it all, right? And so we're all here just to make money together. Debate me in the comment section below. Tell me how I'm wrong and tell me how I'm right. And give me your Bitcoin price predictions. That's what I'm really interested in the comment section below. Let me know what your Bitcoin price predictions are. All right, guys, have yourself a great weekend, and thanks for watching.